on, everyone? It's your girl, Rebecca Ruber, and today on Inside the Ring, we have a man who has done it all because he's been through it all. An American boxer who's competed in the Olympics back in 2012, then became pro, to then hold the WBO junior lightweight title from 2019 to 2021. This fighter is a U.S. Marine who has served 2 tours of duty in Iraq and was based in North Carolina, where he earned the rank of sergeant. You can check out the newly released book, where is it? The Fighting Marine, the JAMEL Herring Story by Odell Cleveland. Welcome to the show, JAMEL Semper Herring, and thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, thank you for having me on. It's an honor. It's a pleasure.
Well, before we get started, I just wanted to thank you personally for your service. My family's a Marine family themselves, so Semper and thank
you. Semper hurrah.
So you talk about how you got into boxing when you were younger in your book, which we'll talk about a little bit about your book, but was there a specific time in your amateur boxing career where you knew in that moment that you were meant to be a professional boxer?
Honestly, it was like I had like a lot of doubt in myself. People don't believe, but I used to always doubt myself, and it wasn't really until the Olympic trials when I was constantly just winning in all of my matches, and I was like, you know what, maybe I can go a lot further than what I thought I could, just last week or so. And that's when that's when it really started to click, was when I actually made it to the Olympic trials and I actually won the whole tournament. That's when I started looking at my future as maybe a professional fighter.
What was the biggest challenge transitioning from the amateurs to the pros?
I think the biggest challenge overall was the fact that around that same time, I was transitioning out from the Marine Corps back to the civilian world. So that was the big transition. I mean, in terms of, as you know, with your family being a military family as well, everything's like on schedule. Everything's a schedule. Everything, has a set date and time. It's like, but going back to the civilian lifestyle was a lot different because most people don't know, I entered the Marine Corps right after high school. So I basically became, a mature adult during my time in the Marine Corps. So all I knew at that point in time was just, military lifestyle. So that was the biggest challenge. I mean, in terms of the sport of boxing, a few things here and there had to be changed in terms of the pace of the fights and sitting down on your punches maybe and things of that nature. But I think just transitioning from the military life to back to the civilian world was more challenging than the boxing aspect.
How do you feel like your military life has translated in your personal life the most, as well as how it's translated inside the ring?
I always look back at things when, even though I just lost my title recently, but like I still haven't gone through anything as crazy as I did the military life. So meaning by when I have like a hard moment, even in my fights, I always think about, the sacrifices I had to make just to get to that moment and what I had to endure during my tours in Iraq. And I always think about those who aren't with us anymore and, how they would, I know they would, like a lot of people who are here in the military would trade places with me any day. So I don't really complain or ask for much because I know it could be worse, and I've been through worse. So, and that's how I look at things, not only inside the ring but outside the ring as well. I've been through so many obstacles that I'm just grateful just to even continue to be here and share my story.
That's beautifully said. One story that I never knew about until reading your book was your experience trying to get to Dubai for your fight against Carl Frampton.
Yes.
JAMEL, reading that chapter, my anxiety was like through the roof the whole time. I'm like, oh my God, like what is going on? And without giving too much away, you came out on top with the win, even with those setbacks. How did you get yourself back on the right mindset, right on track for that fight with all the complications, trash talking being had, and less preparation time than your opponent?
For the most part, up to that point, I knew I was prepared physically for the fight. So like I mentioned before, like in the book, the weight and everything wasn't an issue, but it was like, man, like I thought like I was gonna lose out on my biggest moment. And it was actually, like I said, again, those around me that kept me going, like my partner, JC. He was with me, throughout the whole process. My trainers, constantly telling me, don't panic, don't worry. We're gonna do this. And it was actually my nutritionist actually played at Perfecting Athletes, Paulina and Dara. She played a big role because she actually going like just after I got all that crazy mess sorted, just getting on a plane, she actually told me like a schedule in terms of when to fall asleep on the plane, so I can actually get adjusted with the time difference and things of that nature. And luckily, when I got there, it was basically it was nighttime. Because I remember she told me a set time to go to sleep, but a set time to wake up on the plane as well, so I can quickly adjust to the time. And when we got there, it was night, and and we just immediately went to the gym to burn that energy, so I can get used to the time difference and things of that nature. So it basically took a team effort, and for the most part, for me to actually get back on track and put my mind back in the game. And I think it's one of the moments, like, once I landed my feet in Dubai, I was like, okay, I'm here. Let's not let this hard work go to waste, and let's just go straight to work.
It's crazy how boxing is known as like the loneliest sport, but it really does take a village, right?
Yes, it does. It really does. I mean, I always give credit to my team, even though, yes, I'm in the ring, throwing and taking the blows. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have become a world champion. It wasn't for them, like I said again, my nutritionist, I wouldn't be able to make the weight, because people consider me a big junior lightweight. So everybody around me plays a intricate role in my career, and I'm just glad to have them around.
I've never fought in a big arena myself, so I always like asking the fighters, when you're in the ring, do you hear your cornerman or do you hear your opponent's cornerman? What exactly do you hear when you're inside the ring?
I hear everything. I'm not gonna lie. I hear everything. It's like on my last fighting with Shakur. It was funny. I can laugh at it now. Like, I hear his corner, giving that advice, trash talking, and I'm just reacting on what they're saying. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna look out for this. And I definitely, of course, I can hear my team in my corner. And it's like, basically, you can hear the voices that always, stick out to you, even in the crowd. Like, you'll probably hear someone that supports you, and like and they'll throw a note or something at you or whatever. But I definitely, I'm aware of everything that goes on, but I always have to make sure that this just to keep my focus on the man in front of me.
Well, of course, as a lot of people know about your fight against Shakur Stevenson. Before that, there was a lot of trash talking. How were you able to emotionally disconnect from that and get to the task at hand?
I don't. It's funny because it actually took my oldest daughter, and kids, they see everything on social media. So my daughter comes up to me and I forget, and she's like, Dad, why is he always, bashing you in the media? And I'm just like, it's just trash talk. It's just to help build the fight. I don't take it personally. But she was like, Dad, just do me a favor. Promise that you won't act that way, because some people don't know it's just trash talk. Some people may think it's real life. So I said, you know what? Okay, I see where you're coming from. And it's like, okay, my kids see this. Imagine others that look up to me, who's looking at this as well, are viewing this. So that's what it took me a lot, just to restrain. And I'm happy, like I say, even after the fight, like I just actually spoke to Shakur the day before yesterday. Like we actually we'll talk, we'll text, and we'll check on each other. So I'm glad I could actually put that chapter behind me and actually move on in a civil matter. But yeah, it takes a lot at times. Even when the Brandon fight, I had to keep my cool and not let things get under my skin. And at that point in time, I thought it was worse because it wasn't just an opponent. I had to fight up a whole country. so that was a big thing. But yeah, for me, I guess you can also say just being that role of a Marine, being a U.S. Marine, plays a part, because you have to have thick skin.
Yeah,
you need thick skin. You need thick skin to get through these battles mentally.
well, I'm happy that you talked about recently talking to Shakur Stevenson, because I had someone DM me and they were asking about something that they saw that you called Shakur when his fight against Valdez was announced.
Right.
And you told Shakur to fight Valdez the same way he did when you both shared the ring together. Can you elaborate on that a little more?
Before that, everyone kept complaining about how they wasn't entertained with Shakur's fights. We all know that. They kept saying that he played it too safely, and they even used terms of being boring at times. But me being the man who I am, I said, listen, man, don't let the moment get to you. Continue going out there, training and fighting just as hard as you did when we stepped in the ring together against each other. I said, and just continue. I told him, I said, listen, man, I know you're shooting to be on the pound for pound list, which is great. But I told him, I said, you also shoot for being one of the best fighters in the world, period, or being the best fighter in the world, and go out there and just continue make a statement, the same statement you did when we fought. Just go out, but do it better. Keep elevating. And that's just me, just being a real honest guy. I didn't take it as bitterness. Of course, we all know I wanted to fight Valdez at one point as well, but Shakur rightfully earned that shot. So I said, hey man, go out there and do what you do, and I will be out there to support you. So that's that. And that's just the type of human being that I am.
What advantages do you see Stevenson having over Valdez, or even vice versa?
I think I can start with Valdez. I think Valdez, you know, he probably could be more aggressive, and he's maybe a little bit more stronger, maybe. But Shakur has great timing. Like he has great timing and defense. And like I said, even for a guy like me, it was just hard to get to him. And not to mention he has great footwork. So it was like I found myself constantly trying to, you know, look for him in the ring. And by the time I got to him, that opportunity was gone because he'll either have an answer for something, or he'll counter, or he'll react first. So one thing was, like I said, with Shakur, he has great timing, and he knows his distance very well. He knows where he's at in the ring. He's aware of everything, and he's just sharp. So I mean, I see a good uphill battle for Valdez, but at the same time, like I was telling Shakur, you got to still remain sharp and focused. Don't ever overlook anyone, because you never know what they may bring that night in the ring.
Yeah. Do you watch your own tape after your fights?
Not all. No, honestly, I really don't. I really don't, because
Why?
actually, even in my own wins, like the Frampton fight, I honestly probably watched that fight maybe about 4 or 5 times. That's because I had to watch it with like my team, and I'm usually watching it not because of what I was doing good. I'm usually watching it because let me see the small mistakes or things I could have did better. So at times I get frustrated. Well, I'm like, man, I should have did this. So I just like for the most part, I usually go off what my team says in their notes, and I trust their word. Okay, we need to work on this because the last fight you was having issues here, you was having issues there. So I really don't watch a lot of my old fights, to be honest with you, but I do always take notes from the stuff that I do watch, or from whatever my team sees that I need to work on.
Well, thinking back to your last fight and what your team has told you about that fight, what's one or two things that you could take away from that last fight that you're looking to improve on once we see you back in the ring again?
I think the one thing I could take from that fight is that I started a little bit too slow. I started a little too slow in that fight, and I didn't really pick up the pace in terms of pushing somebody like Shakur until mid to late round. But by then he was so far ahead, and the like I said, my face was getting cut up at the time, and it wasn't holding up, and it was just one of those things. Okay, that's what I need to work on my next fight. But it was usually the pacing and the rhythm. But I don't take anything from him. Like I said, he was just a better man. He was just a better guy in there, and I give him full respect. That's why you never see me go out there and make any excuses. I knew what happened. Even if and I believe even if I made those proper adjustments, he always had an answer for something. You know, because that's what made the fight good going in the stretch, because they went from saying that, oh, he played it too safe, but when I started pressing the issue, he also started elevating his game, and that's what I got from that fight. But yeah, definitely it's always something that you can always work on, even in your victories, heading into your next fight, because you never want to give your opponent the mindset that you're going to continue fighting this certain way. You always want to come in with something different and a surprise. Because even with like Frampton, they thought I was going to fight this way, but as you see, with the whole game changed because I fought a different way, because I learned even from my I took my strengths and went to a different level with my strength, and I actually worked more on my weaknesses going into that fight.
Well, I want to talk about, step away from your professional boxing career. I want to talk a little bit about your book, The Fighting Marine.
Okay.
One thing that I told you through DM, something that I talked about before we started recording, was that I love that this book didn't just talk about your boxing career. If anything, it talked more about your personal life than anything else, and the things leading up to your boxing career and how it shaped you into who you are today. And that's something that I try to get across in my podcast. I try to show the fight fans that these fighters are more than what you see inside the ring. So again, I love this book. It was a quick read. It was addicting. I mean, I read this in like 2-3 days. I couldn't put it down.
Thank you.
So how did this book opportunity present itself to you?
You know, for years, people have been asking me to tell my story, to share my story for years. And it's one of those things where I felt like, you know, when you always read books about people's personal lives, you always think about they share it when they like a lot far older and ahead in life, and they got more things accomplished. But no, everybody was just saying, listen, man, even for your age, you've been through a lot, and people would love to hear your story, and you could potentially reach a lot of people out there in the world. So that's how I really got started on it. And I was like, you know, I told myself, if I'm gonna do it, I want to make sure to get as much detail as I possibly can. Even though it's still still a short story, but there's a lot of details in there, and that's why when you read it, if you really look at it, I got insight not only just from my own lens, but like from my parents and the people that mentored me and the people that that I served with. Because I want to because they may have seen things that I didn't see or I may have forgot about. So I wanted to get as much detail as possible in the story. So that's how I came about with the book, and that's why I wanted to be not just be my story, but I wanted to also have people share their stories from their point of view.
Yeah, I actually really liked the little excerpts from Jennifer's point of view. I thought that was a really
Right.
interesting point of view. I never knew that you guys knew each other for that long, and you guys kind of
Yeah.
led your own separate lives and then somehow reconnect again. I thought that was really cool to see, not from even a dating side, just her being your friend when you were younger.
Right. Right.
Her perspective. So I thought that was very well written and a great job. How long did it take for this book to be written, including interviews, edits, etc.?
I think honestly, it took about maybe a good year, honestly. Because once I got it started going, I actually got addicted with sharing my story, and then I wanted to make sure, let's reach out to this individual that I like, my foster parents. Let's reach out to this side. Let's reach out to my military side and people that I served with. And it's crazy because there's actually a lot of stuff that didn't even make the book that later on in life that I do when I want to come back to me doing maybe another one, I can get all those other bits and details that I did that didn't make this book. But yeah, once we started rolling, we just every day I was on the phone just speaking with Odell, and we were just I was sharing my stories, and I was like, hey, I was giving him context with my siblings and people that I served with, and then the boxing world as well. And it just fell together, and in my opinion, beautifully.
Yeah, and within a year, that's actually very fast, and I'm very surprised with how well written and how well organized
Yeah,
this book is
yeah.
for a year. That's great. It seems like the topics you discussed in this book, it could make you feel very vulnerable. There was a lot of personal things that if I went through, I don't know if at your age I would be ready just yet to talk about it. So what was the biggest challenge while being interviewed
Right.
for this book? Like, what was something that maybe you didn't feel comfortable sharing, but then thought, I need to share this with the fans?
I think that was the biggest challenge, just being open and honest, because I want people to see that just because I may be a world champion, or you see me on TV, or you think my life is just so extravagant, like I'm still a human being just like you. I still wake up and put my pants on the same way as any other man out there, and like, again, I have my weaknesses. I can be vulnerable at times, but I'm not afraid to share that. And a lot, and I'm pretty sure you even seen it with your own family, especially in the military side. A lot of times, as vets, we hide a lot of things, and you won't even know until maybe like decades later. They'll share something that you were surprised because you never heard it. You never heard it from them, but they've been keeping this inside for decades. And for me, it was one of those things where with PTSD, it was eating me up because I was keeping a lot of things built inside. And then I would see friends that I served with who has similar situations go through it, but they ended up in the worst possible ways, or even like death, suicide, or whatever. So I opened up about everything from my struggles to to alcohol, to depression, and feeling like I don't want to be here anymore myself. So, but when I started opening up more, I started feeling a lot of weight lifted off my shoulders because it just felt good just to vent. And then when I started hearing people who actually listened to my story, and they would tell me how much it helped them in their struggles, that's when I said, you know what, this it could be a good thing for a lot of people, especially with mental health issues playing a huge role today in today's society.
Why did you guys decide that now was a good time to release this book, with all that being said?
it's funny. Like I said, it wasn't much of my choice. I mean, obviously, I still was the one who spoke, and made the pages. But it's one of those things when I was going. I think right around the time in 2019, I was when I first won the title, and I was visiting troops all around. Not even just in the country, but outside the country as well. And just hearing their stories about the little bit details they knew about me and how much it helped them get through certain situations, I was like, man, maybe if I actually share everything, I can reach more people and potentially encourage others to maybe speak out or go get help themselves. So it was more of just me being at the highest of my career, obviously, but still feeling like there's more out there than just being a champion. And I want to reach out and connect through people a lot more than just the sports aspect of it. I want people to know that, hey man, like because people always, it's with any sport or anything you do in entertainment, people look at you as a superstar at times. I was like, listen, man, I appreciate that love and support, but um, you know, I'm just like you in so many ways. You just don't know that. You just don't know it until I started sharing my story. And people are like, man, wow, I never know you was going through that, and I've gone through this as well. And at times there's people that when they share this story, I learned things from them as well. So it was just a great feeling, and that's the reason why I wanted to do the book and just got to get something out there and do something good in life.
It's interesting how this book started from being very selfless, wanting to help others, that at the end of writing this book and helping be a part of this, it turned out to be kind of therapeutic for you.
Right.
So
Right.
I think that's very beautiful. If you could describe this book in one word, what would it be and why?
Um, I would say just inspirational. And what I mean by that is, here I am. When you, like I said, I'm pretty sure when you dissected the whole thing, you was like, man, I would never believe that this guy actually had this many struggles, just even in my youthful years, being bullied and things of that nature. And it's like, you don't have to be the biggest, the strongest guy out there. I always say, what I mean by inspirational is as long as you believe within yourself first, you may surprise yourself. Because even like I said, even as an adult, I had a lot of doubt within me. But when I started saying, you know what, let me just go, I just try. Okay, I may fail, but at least I can say later on in life that I tried. I tried, and I went out and did my best. So I always try to encourage people, don't just keep a dream in your mind. Try to actually take the steps to live out that dream. No matter, if you fall short, you can at least say, hey, I tried. I tried. Cause I see too many people that I grew up with who are either the same age range or ones that look I like my around my parents' ages or whatever, and they always say, I could have or I should have, and I didn't want to go out like that. I didn't want to do that. So I try to encourage others. Hey, go out there and just like even now with friends, I got a close friend who has a tremendous story, and I tell her all the time. I said, listen, it took a lot for me to open up. I mean, there are people that have the same background as you that you don't know about because you're keeping everything into yourself. So you will be surprised if you out there just speak on your own story and how many people you can reach yourself. Because she was actually like, this is somebody that I knew since I was like 7 years old, and she was surprised about the stuff that she read in the book because a lot of the stuff that was going on, I kept to myself, even as a kid. So I was telling her, so listen, there's things that you and I share personally, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot more that's maybe eating you up inside that you may want to get out someday and help reach others. And she thought, and she's been thinking about it ever since then. And because, like, again, the book was inspirational to her.
And I can second that. I know that the past year, I myself have been working on trying to live in the now, trying to live in the present, not try to take past problems and bring them into now and be bitter or think too much ahead of the future.
Right.
And I know reading this book, I remember waking up the next day and thinking like, I'm alive, my family, my friends, healthy. I mean, life is really good when you're in the moment and you're living
Right.
for the now.
Right.
And looking at everything that you've been through, you can go two ways. You can either take that, be better, and make it an excuse not to do anything with your life, or you could take them as life lessons and be a better person. And it's really nice to see that you went that route and you're inspiring so many people.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's I'm glad you pointed it out. Like, for me, it's all about just being a better person each and every day. I'm not really, even you see on social media, I don't really dig into the fame and the name and I was like, no, because that's why I always speak with everybody on social media, even in something small. I will try to get back to that individual because I want to show the more human side of me. And again, we live in a world where everything's out there, especially with social media, especially with kids. Kids have access to everything, and I try to lead by example, even with my own children. Like, I mean, they may think dad is a superhero, but at the same time, dad goes through his own battles as well. But that doesn't mean so you should let it hold you or keep you back. It should make you stronger and want to get up and go out there and make a difference.
I'm glad you brought up your children because one of the questions I had was, well, statement first is you seem to be a real family guy,
Right.
phenomenal father to all your children. How did you find that balance of spending time with your children, giving them the attention they need on top of training and everything else that you do? Do you have any advice for those looking to be better with their time management when it comes to family and professional life?
I will say thank God for technology. And what I mean by that is when I'm away, because when I'm in camp, I'm actually in training camp for 2 months. I'm not making trips back home. I'm not, able to see my family isn't coming to see me. I'm not able to do anything. But like, thank God for like Zoom, FaceTime, things like that. It keeps me in touch, just with all of my children. But when I'm away from boxing and training, even now I always make sure to spend as much time as I possibly can to make up for all that lost time that I've went through just dealing with boxing. So it's kind of hard, but I would say that communication overall is the key. To keeping a relationship and with your children, because even in that short span, your kids are still growing, so they might be a totally different person if from the time you left, the time you came back. But if you're constantly communicating with them, you're growing, you're still growing with them, and you're learning more about them, and they're probably learning just as much about you as well. So it's not like you're coming home to complete strangers now, because you had that reach to your kids throughout the process.
Going back to your professional boxing career, I don't think the fans are ready to see you hang up those gloves yet. So who do you want to fight next if you had to choose? I know you really want a Valdez, but if
Right.
you had to choose somebody else, do you have anyone in mind?
I would like to fight Ogawa for the IBF title at junior lightweight, because I still feel like I have a lot of business to do at junior lightweight, and I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, of course, when you have stuff at the feet, first thing you think of times is like, maybe should I just walk away, but I still have that hunger. When I sit back and actually took, like, again, time away, spend time with the family, spend time with my kids, and then just started watching boxing again as a fan, you get that itch, and you fall in love with it all over again. And what I'm saying, like, I'm happy for Shakur. I hope him and Valdez put a great fight on. But in terms of my own career, I would like to shoot for another world title, and I would like to fight Ogawa wherever at. I mean, you see yourself. I have no issue traveling. That's just the Marine to me. I have no issue traveling for a good fight. But definitely, if I don't get that fight, I'll probably take a fight maybe at lightweight or so. But there's definitely a lot that I still know I can do out there in the boxing world.
Well, you've been putting that work in the ring with Top Rank, inside the ring as well as ringside. I know you've been doing a phenomenal job commentating. Will we be seeing more of that come 2022?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. I actually just reached out to Top Rank maybe a few weeks ago about commentating with them again, because I just love sharing my knowledge of the sport. For me, I don't look at it as a job. I look at it as something that I love, and I feel good doing it. So I mean, Christina Poncher, I did work with her. She's great. She's actually been like a great mentor to me, also a great friend. So it's great working ringside with her as well. So I hope I do get more opportunity. I'm pretty sure I will, because I've been praised for my work, and I'm just honored and humbled to be appreciated in that line of work as well.
Christina myself has been a huge inspiration for me, and And she's taught me a few things along the way as well. What's something that you've learned while working with Christina Poncher?
You know, with her, it's all about, she told me about basically feeding off each other. It's all about, it's a teamwork, it's a teamwork effort. Like you mentioned before, with boxing as a fighter, you know, usually people look at it, you're just a fighter in the ring and that's it. But with commentating, it's like you have to have great chemistry in order for it to flow and for the viewers to pick up on what you're trying to explain in your read. So with Christina, she just she just told me overall just to be myself and don't try to force anything and come off like you're robotic, like you're just reading off on a script. Like no, just she just told me just let it flow, and she'll she'll throw me an alley oop, and then when you know what I'm saying, I'll pick up from it and I'll go on and I'll take my spin on it, and vice versa. So that's how, and that's what I picked up from her, and it just makes the job a lot easier. And she always, but she does stress me, do your homework, because I am the worst in terms of like taking notes and doing it. But you know, she has me doing my homework in terms of the fighters' bios and getting their you know, reading on their background and their strengths and weaknesses as well. And like she's really in it. Like she really does her homework, and I've seen her with just notes, and you would think it's overwhelming, but she easily just lets it flow, and it's like it's just amazing watching her do it. And same goes for guys like Andre Ward. Andre Ward's the same way. He's big on his notes. Tim is not the biggest guy on notes, he'll tell you, but like Tim had, you see how like he has his own magic on the way he does things as well. So yeah. It's just great picking up from all those guys and basically finding your own personality and your own niche in the game of commentating.
How was it being on the other side of the table for the fighter meetings? Was that interesting perspective for you?
Oh my God, listen, it's funny because Lomachenko's last fight, he walks in the room, he was like, you're commentating now? Like he's like, I know you're not done. He's like, I know you're not done fighting. Like, no, I'm not done fighting, man. I'm just you know, getting my feet wet. So when I do decide to go into the next move, I'll just easily jump in. And he was like, oh man, okay. But you know, me and Lomachenko, it's funny because like I said, we had a good laugh about it. And it's actually really interesting being on the other side, because I will say this, you actually get to learn and pick up on things from the way that the other fighters think and you know, and view things and how they prepare for a fight. Mm-hmm. And so and it actually helps me as a fighter go into my own camps. Like, you know what? When I heard from Lomachenko or Usyk and these guys, they were saying that they were talking about how they were doing this in camp and how this, and then they also shared their inspirations of who pushed them. Like, you know, you looking at these guys like these are pound for pound fighters, but at the same time, again, they're human and they're telling you like, listen, I had to go through this struggle. I had to go through this battle. I needed this individual behind me to push me. I mean, I heard Usyk sit there share his story saying that you know, he would struggle on runs with Lomachenko, but Lomachenko would finish the run and get in the car and go back to go get him and push him along the way up the mountain. So, and these are guys who are also elite athletes. So one thing about fighting is even down to the prospects, you always learn where these guys where their heads are at, and you know where they want to be, where they want to go, and that actually motivates you. Like, man, you know what? I really can continue going because this guy across from me, he just inspired me to go out there and continue doing the great things in the ring. So it's great hearing from other fighters and just, you know, their point of views on what they had to go through to get to that stage and that level.
People don't realize, mostly people that aren't athletes, they don't realize that as a professional athlete, you never stop learning. You're always growing, you're always looking to grow and level up and level up. So that's a pretty cool perspective as being someone in the ring professionally, and then also being on the other side of those fighter meetings, getting to learn something from your fellow fighters.
Of course. I always say, if you feel like you know everything and you don't want to, and you're not learning anymore, then you're selling yourself short. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like, especially with boxing or any sport, the game always advances and elevates and goes to new peaks. So even now, even for me, I always like to go back to training camp because I want to learn something new, or I want to work on something that I may be haven't been using that was working in the past that that I completely put to the side. So it's always about just being open-minded, as I would say, open-minded to things. Don't go in there thinking that you know it all. Even like I said, the best in the world at times, they continue to learn. Even with those who claim, oh, they think you know everything, deep down when you actually know their dynamic background and how their team works, they're still in there learning. Because for me, I would say every fight's different. I can't go in there and do the same exact things that I did the last fight and expect to be successful.
Mhm. Well, I know you're a huge advocate and supporter for women's boxing.
Yes.
A couple months ago, when I first really started getting into the reporting myself, Christine Lopez had me on her show. And it was like right after your fight, I believe. And she said, you might come on because you've been on a couple of times. And I was so excited to be on a live stream with you. And then I think you had something to do or whatever. I was like, okay, maybe one day I'll be able to interview and talk to you. But what are your thoughts on Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano?
It's great for boxing. It's one of those fights that we've actually been looking for to happen for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like I said, I think it's great. And then for me, I don't like looking at things for the gender as much. I mean, I acknowledge it, of course, but like, if it's a great fight and you're a fighter, you're just a fighter to me, and that's a great fight. That's a great fight, and it's a great fight in their own right, and it's actually a great fight for women's boxing, but mainly for like the young women and girls that are in the amateur system coming up, because now they can look at these type of fights and be like and feel like, you know, maybe I can get that same respect now as the men do, because we're able to put on great fights. And I believe that, and I'm always gonna be a huge advocate for women's boxing, but because I love the amateur system, and I believe that the way for to get, you know, that respect and those great fights is within the amateur system. Because if you look back 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you had some great names, but the competition were just women that didn't have the pedigree or the background as women do today, with you know, going to the Olympics, being multinational amateur champions. So they're honing their skills early now, instead of you seeing women back then in the 90s or so, when they was maybe just learning how to box as a full grown adult. But now I love seeing little girls in the gym and they're working harder than the boys.
Mm-hmm.
One story that always inspires me, and I'm a huge fan of hers and a good friend of hers, is Sinisa Estrada. Sinisa was the one that she was basically the only girl within her group.
Yeah,
So
she's
she
fine
sparred.
boys.
She was sparring the likes of the Jojo Diaz's and the Frankie Gomez's. Exactly. And to me now, when I look at her, like, man, that hard work paid off, because she's like one of the best fighters in the world. And for those who always try to knock women's boxing and not entertaining, they need to watch Anissa Estrada, because she's out there knocking out her competition literally better than some of these guys out here. But she's putting on entertaining fights, and she's showing true skill set that even for somebody like me, I'll even ask for advice and pick things up on her, like, hey, Snisa, that how do you know, I see you do this or that. How do you get into that flow and rhythm? But that just showed that, and that's what I mean about her just being a fighter. I'm not looking at her as, oh, that's just a girl, that's a woman. No, I'm actually like, hey, I want to learn whatever you're doing is, you know, saying is working for you. Maybe I can add some of that to my arsenal. And then you got my good friend Michaela Mayer, Clarissa Shields, Marlena Spark, like, and it's now we're actually in a world where there's actually so many top women athletes out there that it's hard to name them all. Because I mean, back then you probably could say, okay, I know Layla Ali, Ann Wolf, Lucia Riker, and you probably can name that maybe your top on one hand. But now we live in a world where there's just so many great women out there that's really putting on for boxing. And I'm just actually happy to witness it, and to say that, and that I can brag, saying, see, I told you that girl that she was going to do something. I told you she was going to be something special, something great. And I love it. And I just continue to hope. I hope it continues getting better, and that we now can get women to get that same respect and pay,
Mm-hmm.
or every day that us men get as well. Because at the same time, one thing people, like, again, you brought up earlier, they don't see everything that athletes go through, and women are athletes as well. So what I mean by that is, I've been on like runs with Michaela. We're running this. We're doing the same run every morning. We're doing the same boxing workouts every evening, so they should get that same respect.
What are your thoughts on 3-minute rounds for women?
I'm not mad at it. I like to see it. I think that's what I think. The 2 minutes is where it hurts women's boxing now, because when people, in terms of people complaining, oh, we don't get enough knockouts. Okay, it's hard to get much done in 2 minutes. Once you, because I've seen it in Michaela's fights. Whenever she gets the rhythm, the bell rings, and it's like she has to start all over the next round to get that rhythm all over again. So if you give women these 3 minutes, I mean, you don't have to, okay, whatever. You don't have to make, you keep the championship fights at 10 rounds, but give them 3 minutes. You know what I'm saying? In within those 10 rounds. Like just again, Michaela's last fight, very entertaining, but it was like every time the heat started going, ding, 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 every time, and it's like it's actually frustrating for me as a fan, because I'm like, yo, this is a good fight, and then okay, the action stops because the bell rings, and I'm like, no, so I'm all for it. Some people is gonna argue that it's all safety, but you see men getting injured left and right as well. So what's the difference? I mean, these women know what they're putting themselves into just as much as we know what we're putting ourselves into as well. So I don't use that. I think it's kind of an excuse. Oh, we're in it, but like we see more fatalities with men, you know, over recent memory. So, but it's okay for us to continue to go out there doing 12 rounds, 3 minutes, but it's so harmful for the women to do the same. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to what you were saying, as Michaela Mayer was doing the same workouts as you, training the same way as you. What's the difference for that extra minute? Except it helps set up women for that knockout. And think about it this way too. Sinisa Estrada got, what was that 7 seconds knockout within those 2-minute rounds. Imagine what we can see going further with the way that these women are now training, the tools they have. The 2021, I think, was just a little sneak peek to the amazing world of women's boxing. And I think 2022 is really going to crack that wide open, because we have some great fights already starting to get lined up, including Mayer versus Baumgartner, and you know, Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano, and Terry Harper versus Heather Hardy, I think will be a very interesting fight as well.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. It's great. It's funny, like I think a lot of people who they don't want to admit it, but there's a lot of good female fights on their list that they're interested to see. And I'm looking for, like I said, Alicia Baumgartner. She went out there and put on a hell of a performance against Harper, which is like probably one, like men or female, was probably one of the best stoppages that whole year. So again, like these women out here are putting in the work just as much as we are. Like I said, I've been in training camps with Michaela numerous times now. I mean, me and Michaela actually met like 11 years back within the training camp, but as amateurs, and we in the same weight class and everything, and we've always kept in contact, and I'm glad that still, even now, we're still close to friends. But I've seen her do, even like I say, she may fight 2 minutes, but when she's in training camp, she's sparring 3 or 4 minute down. So she's she's doing the 3 minutes within sparring, but it's an issue to do it as a fighter. I mean, and I know Sinisa is another one. And a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure a lot of these women are out there sparring 3 minute rounds in the gym and putting in the same work. So it's like, what's the difference of them doing the same thing as us? Okay, but like I said, again, you can keep it 10 rounds, but you know, let these women go out there and lay it all, you know, out there, because they put in that work. They put in the work, and they deserve to get the opportunity to show that, listen, we are just as tough as the men that you see every other weekend.
Well, I think that that's a great way to transition into our last little segment before we wrap up. I like to do this speed round game with all the people that I have on my show called Unboxing the Boxer. Now, pretty much I ask you a bunch of random personal questions, and you have to think of an answer as quick as you can. And if you want to explain why you came up with that answer, you can, but where it's very small, short, personal questions, just one by one by one. So are you ready? Okay. So first question is, if you weren't a pro fighter, what could you picture yourself doing?
I would still be in the military. I'll still be a Marine. Well, once a Marine, always a Marine, but I would still be active duty.
Favorite sports team?
Favorite sports team? Oh, I think I can't say team. I will say state. I think everything New York. But I can break it down. Jen is a Giants fan. I'm a Jets fan. I'm a Rangers fan. I'm a Yankees fan. I'm not a Mets. I'm not a Brooklyn Nets. But like if I'm doing, I stick within New York. But I always have to pick one team per sport.
Okay, that's fair. Favorite food?
Favorite food? I would have to say, being a New Yorker, pizza. I love New York style pizza.
Are you currently in New York now?
No, I'm upset. I'm upset. I'm actually in Ohio right now, but New York is home. New York is home. So every time I go to New York, even when I fight at the or go visit the Garden, I always gonna go get a New York slice every time.
I was gonna say maybe you shouldn't be so upset you're not in New York right now because right here in Jersey it's like 20 degrees and it's horrible. But I don't think
Yeah,
it's much
I
better
know.
in Chicago. Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Cinderella Man, Russell Crowe. Because if you look at that movie, it inspired me because man, he's been through hell and back, and he still got to the pinnacle of being a world champion. So that's basically one of my favorite movies. And my good friend Errol Spence actually gave me the nickname Cinderella Man because of the movie.
Interesting. Oh, speaking of boxers, who is your favorite boxer besides yourself?
Favorite boxer beside myself, there's so many to name. I can give a list. Canelo Alvarez, of course. Bud Crawford, my good friend. Errol Spence. Inoue, Tanisha Estrada, Clarissa Shields. We can just continue going on and on all day. Tyson Fury, and and so many others that actually inspired me to go out there and continue pushing it in my own right.
Um, your favorite musical artist at the moment?
Oh, again, so many. But I will say that I've always stuck in with my own class of artists I listen to, and I will say like guys like Nas, but like the newer generation, maybe guys like J. Cole or so like that.
So you like stuff more with a storyline behind it, not just
Exactly,
okay.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I like something that has maybe, and there's nothing against those who are out there now, but just people out there who have a purpose. Or I
Yeah.
mean, not just a purpose, but like again a story and something that can maybe relate to you.
Yeah, for sure. Biggest fear?
Biggest fear, even as a Marine, I'm afraid of heights. I do not like. They always want me to go skydiving. I'm like, no. But I think, but a biggest fear, in another aspect is not trying, and then looking back on it and say, man, like again, like I said earlier, like what if? So, not actually making the attempt to try something that's been on my mind, and that I actually that I could see myself doing, but I didn't try.
Oh, that was really deep. I was thinking spiders or
No,
heights was, and then you're just like, all right, let's get super philosophical right
yeah.
now. Favorite holiday?
Favorite holiday? Wow. I would say obviously Christmas because I like to see the joy within my own kids. 'Cause I look at it as mainly a holiday for them, of course, but it gives me an opportunity to also teach them about others who don't have the same opportunities as they have as well. And I always preach that with my kids. So listen, I give you guys the world, but just remember, there's others who didn't get anything, at all. And that's what keeps me grounded of thinking of people who go through a hard time, especially around the holidays. Not just kids, just families in general. So I always try to take that time to teach about and show the other side of the other corner, the other side of the coin, as I might say.
Biggest pet peeve?
Biggest pet peeve, you brought that up earlier, when people are not on time. I cannot stand when even like my own team, my trainers, when they're not on time, it drives me crazy. Like you said, we're supposed to be here by 2, and it's 2:10. Like, and it drives me crazy.
uh, Favorite animal?
Favorite animal, gotta love the dogs.
I
Dogs.
love dogs. Okay. Favorite store to shop in could be any type of store.
Um, I'm like a computer geek, so I would have to say Best Buy.
Okay, I see the
Like
Nintendo
I've never been
64
like my
shirt.
brothers. They're this exactly like my brothers and them. They're big on the fashion. Me, I can relive my childhood for the rest of my life and be happy with that. But I'm definitely big on like this technology and what's out there and what's new.
What was your first job ever?
Oh my God. I think honestly, my first and only job was Taco Bell.
Get out.
And I was like maybe like 16 years old. And then when I was 17, I had enlisted to the Marine Corps, and the rest is history from there.
Taco Bell. So you were the one, were you making the tacos? Were you like a cashier? Like what was your role?
Everything.
Ah,
I did I did everything. Mainly like I said, preparing the food and everything. And I didn't hate it because it was actually, something for me to do, and just to go out there and make my own living as a kid. But yeah, the Marine Corps was definitely a lot more interesting of a occupation.
but you know what? Taco Bell built your character. It started with the ground roots for who you became.
Because you have to deal with a lot of different personalities. You have to keep a cool outlook on things.
Yeah, for sure. If you have a middle name, what is it?
My middle name is William, and I actually got that, and here's a good story behind it. My grandfather was named with James William Herring. Obviously, if you take the name, replace it with an L with the S, as we get my name from JAMEL. But it's funny. It's not funny. It's crazy because he actually passed away literally a week before I was born. So my name, I feel like my name alone with just having a middle name, it has purpose. I mean, he served in the army. I think he was in World War II. So he served there as well. And I just feel like, just having that name gives me a lot of great purpose that I have to live up to. And I'm just honored.
It's very interesting looking and reading about your life, how dates are very significant to you.
Yes.
And how they've all kind of tied in together. So that was something that's very interesting to know. What's one superpower you would like to have?
I think it might sound selfish, but I would like to have like Superman strength, because I would be like I would be like the top KO artist in boxing. So
you'd be like Stevenson. Where's that rematch?
Superman strength. Seriously.
That's great.
yeah, exactly. That's what Superman. So anything Superman was mainly with his strength.
Okay. Favorite TV show?
Oh my God, there's just so many.
Are there any you're binge watching now or anything like that?
I think one of my favorites, even just when I really started like sitting down to watch TV for a while, was Boardwalk Empire. Obviously a New Jersey thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it mainly was shows that incorporate things that happen in history. Mm-hmm. So that's just my thing. Like even like the Godfather of Harlem and things like that. Anything that incorporated history, especially with like the neck of the woods where we come from in terms of that northeast region. Those are my type of shows.
I think you'd like the show Peaky Blinders if you haven't watched it. It's about like the Prohibition era in England, and
has a lot of I've heard good things about it. Yeah, definitely to check it out.
Favorite snack?
Oh, favorite snack? I'm like the worst on cookies. I get in trouble in camp because my nutritionist might catch me eating chocolate chip cookies. That's my biggest weakness, and I have to literally go on like a camp rehab to cut all that out just to stay on track. So yes, favorite snacks got to be chocolate chip cookies, mainly Chips Ahoy.
Oh, those are good with milk too. It's perfect.
Exactly.
Country you would love to visit?
Oh, country I would love to visit. I visited before, but I would like to go back to the UK. Because London for me, it just reminded me of New York. So I loved it there, but I'm actually open-minded to anything. I still haven't visited China, so I would like to go visit China as well.
Okay, and last question. This one might not be as speedy of a response, but when you decide to retire, what are your goals personally and professionally? Where do you see yourself?
I still want to be involved in the sport of boxing. That's why I'm managing. I'm proud to say I manage a top prospect again in women's boxing, which is Micaiah Krebs, who I'm very excited to see get back in the ring soon. We spoke of it earlier. Commentating. I want to indulge more in commentating, and I want to just continue maybe doing other things that I maybe dreamed about as a kid, like maybe acting or entertaining and things like that. But just something that just give it a try at least and see how, how far maybe we can get to, and how far I can go out and do it.
I just talked to Troy Isley on Wednesday, and he said that he wanted to get into acting at some point. And
Right.
I asked him this question, so now I have to ask you, if there was to be a movie made about you, but you couldn't play yourself, what actor would you like to play the role of you?
What? That's a good one. That's a good one. I mean, I mean, he's not even an actor; he's an athlete. But people say that like guys like Chris Paul, like people think that we resemble each other in some way. But
Okay,
I
I
don't
see
know, man.
that.
Like, yeah, exactly. But I haven't really actually never gave that any thought. But but personally, I always said that in my younger years, I would want my son, who's like my twin, to
Mhm.
portray me as my young. I would like at least to put a relative and one of my kids in some parts in my life story about me. So I would definitely like my oldest son to portray me as because right now he is 14, so at least my teen years, of course.
I'd love for you to shout out any of your social media, any projects maybe you want to shout out. This is your time to just brag about anything you want people to follow you at.
Well, again, I want to thank you for allowing me to come on your platform. It was actually, like I said, it actually flowed, and the conversation flowed, and I had a great time just speaking on things. Anytime I get to speak on, what I've been through is great, because it may reach somebody that hasn't heard the story before. So I'm honored to have that opportunity. But anybody who want to reach out to me, they can just contact me on Instagram, on Twitter at JAMEL Herring. I keep it real simple to be found. And like I said again, I will be back. I'm actually prepared to go get surgery done in terms of the scar tissue, because I've been cut like my last 3 fights in the same area, so I have to get that fixed. But once I get that situated, that's when you'll hear about maybe the next fight date, because I got to get that done and let it heal. Then I can get back into training. But now just look out for some of my fighters that I worked with: Micaiah Krebs, Misael Lopez, Michael Gamble, Ryan Martin, who's a good friend of mine. I'm working with him. Matthew Martinez, and I'm just trying to just help others get their foot in the door instead of having just a spotlight on me. I want to share, to share my success with others as well. So be on the lookout for that.
That's great. Well, you've been a pleasure to interview. Stay on the Zoom call real quick. I'm going to end the recording, but thank you again. And everyone, this again was JAMEL Semper Herring.